Fam, what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. I have a very, 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 very special guest today on the podcast. I mean, it's amazing. I have the biggest respect for you, bro. Like, I really do. I have low-key man crush.
Feelings mutual, brother. Feelings mutual.
You guys, your guys' company has exploded over the last 4 years, since 2018 when you guys kicked it out. I've had the pleasure of being on the looking at how this whole thing developed from the get-go, right? So it's been a beautiful experience for me as an outsider to see you guys build it up. But just to see the growth that's happened, on a personal level, on a company level, and you name it, man. Like it's been leaps and bounds and really compounded. So we have Jesse Burrell on the podcast. He's the CEO of Batch Service. So anybody who's in the real estate space right now, if you're prospecting for sellers or looking for data, I mean, this company became the standard of data, right? Nationwide. It's not a local thing anymore. So welcome to the show, bro. You're a very busy guy. I appreciate you sitting down with me for the second time, because the first time I totally fucked it up.
Yeah, we forgot to record it, but it was
a really good conversation too.
That was like 2 or 3 years ago. So Definitely a different perspective now. I'm happy to hop on, and I feel that I probably have a lot more value to add than I did then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the value's always been there. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, man. Let's pull on some threads, like kind of put it all on the table. I mean, I'm lucky to call you my friend, and so I know quite a lot about your personal background. You started in real estate wholesaling around 2014, right? So you started putting deals together like that, and that kind of evolved. You saw a need. You partnered up with more people who became really, really good assets in your journey as an entrepreneur. But walk me through the journey.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'll start a little bit further back. Is I was working at a restaurant with Danielle Kroll, who actually started working for an investor, I think, in 2012. And he was out of California, saw the market and how cheap houses got. So basically what he started doing was flipping homes. And then he's Israeli, and he had a bunch of friends that still lived in Israel. And then he would also flip some, and then he would buy some, fix them up, and then basically sell it to them, and had a property management company. So she was running that for him, and a position became available. And this was when I was just about to graduate college. Took me about 9 years to do that, to get my undergrad. So, I look at it as persistence, not I was a dumbass. So, and basically she's just like, it's really fun. You're a hustler. Like, I think you maybe like it. So I worked for him for a year, basically what I was. And back then, you could find a lot of on-market deals at the time, where you're looking at short sales and pre-foreclosures at that time.
Yeah, times were very different.
Yeah, very, very different. What I basically was an acquisition rep. I was going and underwriting deals. I would call the agents and then kind of just see where they were. And then I believe Danielle would make the offers, because I didn't have my license at the time. So I would just kind of vet out them, basically acquisition guy. But from that, I got to go to a lot of the projects. What was most important was really understanding underwriting. I had to do all these pro formas all the time for the owner and for Danielle. And it just really taught me to understand rehab budgets. And I would go to the projects. I got to meet the contractors. And that's what really got me comfortable to that next year. I got my license. Then I started finding them deals so I could get the commission for it. And then soon after that, Danielle split away from him as well. And we created our own wholesaling company with her now husband, Jared Vidalis. So
another rock star,
yeah, just another monster. I mean, both of them are incredible people. Yeah. So it was pretty fun. And then I did that with them for a couple years. And as I said, they are married now. And they started dating, and it just got a little bit tougher. They want to do certain things. I want to do certain things. And basically went our own ways, to where they, bought me out of the company. I started my own thing and crushed it, did pretty good. And a lot of that had to do, with her. She taught me a ton on how to look at deals. And I basically just did what she taught me. Is I'd wholesale some, I'd cherry pick the really good, juicy ones. And, before I knew it, I was making money I could only dream of.
Yeah, a long time ago we had a conversation. You told me about like when you first got proof of concept, and I mean it was like a game changer thing for you, because I remember we were having this conversation. You had another really cool car, GT.
Yeah, the GTR.
GTR, yeah, and then we were driving around. I think we were coming back from Steve Trang's event. We went, we did a pop in for something. Yeah. So we were talking about that, and then you were telling me like, you know, how you got started and how that first, like when that first check came in and you realized like, oh, like shit, these are bigger numbers. This is totally a game changer. It just kind of rewired you and set you off in a whole different direction. Right?
Yeah, honestly. And it goes back to the very beginning when I got my license. I remember because I made okay money, but when you're an apprentice and acquisition rep at that time, not even acquisition rep, you know, I made like 50 grand and that was the most money I ever made. Yeah. But before that, I'd worked at golf courses and done serving. So you're making, you know, maybe $3-4 grand a month. And my first real estate deal is like $7,000 and I didn't work very hard. I was like, I just had to find the client, sell the property. And I was like, it just switched. I was like, I was like, this is interesting. Yeah. And, you know, I distinctly remember at Danielle's house, this real estate agent came over. They're going to a Drake concert. I actually was living with her for a couple months when I was finding a new place. And I met this guy, and he made like 300 grand, and he was an agent. And I was like, this dude's not smarter than me. I was like, I just don't know how to make money, or I don't know how to put myself in front of that opportunity. And then soon after, Danielle gave me that opportunity, but it was really interesting. I just, you know, it's hard to, when you're not around, and that shows how important it is to be around people and be around people that are more successful than you and that want to push you and are like showing you. Because if you see it all the time, you're like, this isn't impossible. It's people that never see it that think it's this mystical thing. That's not really the case.
It's very important that you say that, man. I think it was a game changer for me when we all started kind of, you know, hanging out, and then I started borrowing perspective. I talk about borrowing perspective all the time, but I mean, it's a very real thing. Like your psyche just gets rewired. You start looking at different things, different angles. Like during my 20s, before we started recording, right now we kind of briefly touched on it, but I had another business, and I got burned out on that business, so I was at a point where I was doing good, but I was, you know, more into the lifestyle of the, you know, the time freedom, the mental, you know, peace that I wanted to have and all that stuff, right? And everybody around me was just pushing and pushing and pushing, including yourself. So I was, you know, I really, like, I felt like I wasn't, you know, like I could push more, but then I would go back and think about, you know, the burnout days and all that stuff. I was like, no, this is a steady cadence for me. But being around the group, I mean, always just, you know, planted new seeds and really, like, you know, it motivated me to do something else. Motivation goes away real quick, right? But I feel like when you put yourself in a space and you do it frequently enough, you don't just get motivated, you get empowered. You know, and like, it's impossible to suppress that fire, I think, once you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, and what I really learned too, and you gave me some perspective on this too, because, you know, I was just focused on grow, and not a lot of balance, and I was at that time 80 pounds heavier than I am today. And I didn't have children. I have one kid, but I didn't have, you know, children. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a wife. And I always question, like, why does Raphael not want more? Yeah. And I wouldn't say I like looked down on it, but I was like, there's more in there. Like, you could do better. Yeah. And I'm learning that, you know, don't judge someone. Everyone has the balance that they want to get to financially, professionally, and personally. And I was so engulfed in professional only and money only that I was very unbalanced. So I'm like, oh, Raphael's not doing better. When in reality you were, because you had a balance of the life that you had a balance of a life that you wanted to create. Yeah. Not all of it was, I want to make the crazy amount of money I was trying to make at that time. You're like, no, this is like a lot and this is still great. It's like me comparing myself to Pace. Like Pace Morby, like, I don't want that.
It's a fucking machine.
He is like, that's what energizes him. He wants to be the biggest real estate you know, person in the entire world, and that's what fills his cup up, and he creates the family dynamic and takes them with everywhere and does all the things. But like, I don't want to work that much. Like that, it's a different lane. I have other hobbies. Like his business is his hobby, and he loves it. But I always would like compare it to my perspective when it's like, no, if someone's successful and they're doing it that way, like not everyone wants to be a billionaire, and everyone doesn't want this. And I thought there was one way, and everything was judged, you know, on the money you're making, and that's not the case at all. And that's definitely something I've learned is how can you find the best version of your life for you and your family, not how much money can I make.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important to understand. With that being said, I wanna give you credit for something that that you did a while back, right? Like, because we've always had, you know, pretty, you know, honest conversations. It's not like you're not the type of person who will sugarcoat anything, and if you like, it's the way you show love. Like,
yes,
I got to understand that real early on.
Yeah.
So I feel lucky about that. But like we had this convo after one of the meetings that we held a few meetings where just kind of like planning for the year and that sort of thing. Everybody was doing their own individual thing, but as a collective, I feel like we were all just kind of pushing each other, and then you know, showing support, right? And then I go into the office, and you go in there with me, and you're like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're doing this. And so I remember that conversation that we had, and it hadn't really, you know, sunk in, right? I feel like I was getting into that comfortable space.
Yeah.
Where it could have gone, you know, very, very comfortable, and I stay steady.
Yeah.
Or hey, listen, you know, here's a kick in the ass. I mean, just wake up, balance and push it. I feel like I was able to keep the balance, but still push a little harder, because I got to a point where I was, okay, cool. I mean, it's dude, I mean, if you're able to leave the office, I don't know, at 2 p.m. in the afternoon every single day, there's probably a couple more hours you can squeeze in there and still be okay with balance, right?
So like the point is like, how do you push yourself? To like not burning out and not overwhelming yourself, but still get the most out of yourself. And it's tough. And that's where I think I saw with you is like, you're not doing enough. Cause like, you know, so the viewers, you don't know this, but he was in our office as we were growing. He had a space, we bought a building, and he was renting a room at the time in our office building. So, you know, I saw when he would get here and when he would leave, and I'm like, bro, like, I'm like, I think you just went too far on the other side of balance is what I'm talking about. I was too far on like business only. You were like too far on like, I still
had PTSD from the burnout. I was doing probably 10 times better than what I was doing when I was, you know, going through all that, you know, mental drainage and so I mean, I felt like I was in a really good space, but then, you know, the thought of why do we do things, right? Like I was going through a lot of personal development too at the time. So introspectively, like seeing what I really wanted to do with my life, you know, why do I do things? And then it became an understanding of like, shit, I mean, why am I doing, you know, because I would get asked like, why are you diversifying in different, you know, companies and this and that? And stuff. Like, because I can. Well, I mean, is that all I can do? Is that all I want to do? So I don't know. It's just like, what I'm trying to say is that conversation did trigger, and it sparked, you know, just like okay, cool, a nudge, like, okay, cool, push it a little, you know, you can push it a little more,
for sure,
right? And you know what it did too? It wasn't just about the money, right? It was about the impact. I think at that time I was more, for example, I was pushing coaching away. I was doing a lot of stuff, but just on my own. But I wasn't really looking at making that ripple effect or impact in just, you know, my path, right? So I found that because I pushed myself a little further. So thank you.
Of course. You know, and I just knew there was more in there, and it's not about the money isn't what I was concerned about. I didn't feel like you were fulfilling yourself on the professional side of things to where you, as you said, I think at that time you were very efficient, very effective in a short amount of time. And I feel like you got in that comfort zone at that time, which we all get in. And I was just like, dude, like you do these little things and there's so much more there. And you're like, oh shit, you're probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it goes back to the same point, right? Like the people that you're around with, like inevitably there's going to be some type of triggers. There's going to be some type of, you know, something that rubs on you, you know, for better or worse. Right. So, I mean, this is 2018,
Yeah,
19.
so we haven't finished the journey part. We're telling a story here, guys.
Yeah.
We're telling a story.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, now let's say I get on my own, I start doing pretty well, and then I basically meet Annie and Evo, my now partners, and I didn't want to partner with anyone again. Like, I love Danny and Jared, and they're some of my best friends still. I mean, Danielle was in my wedding, like on the groomsman's side, like balling with the boys. But I had some PTSD. Like, I was hurt. You know, she was one of my friends. It didn't work out, and it didn't work out for the best reasons, but it was still tough, and I just didn't want partners again. And then I go to this mastermind that Brandon Simmons, the Go-Giver.
Mastermind,
which was a great one. You're in that too.
Yeah.
And I met Annie and Evo there, and Brandon kind of connected me and Evo and was like, hey, I think you guys could really help each other. And then I was kind of helping him with sales and employees, and he was helping me with process and CRM, because like those are our strengths and weaknesses. And then I soon after lost like my skip tracing source, and what I was doing in wholesaling was basically primarily cold calling and texting. And that was like the lifeblood of my business. And he's like, oh, I just got this new thing, and I started selling the data and blah, 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 blah. And I tested it. I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. I know a lot of people, you know, what do I get? And he's like, you'd have half the profits. I'm like, he's never been a very good negotiator. I was like, okay. So like,
super smart.
So I get half of it.
Very nice.
Okay. Sounds good. And then like 2-3 weeks later, you know, I really started like blowing it up and getting a lot of people interested in like, this is really good. Like this is, and a lot of people were having the problem I was having with that data source at the time. And before we knew it, felt like we had something. We're like, okay, let's just partner on this. And then he's like, well, Annie is my sister, and she's like, I do everything with her. So we kind of worked out an arrangement. And from there, the first thing I did when we partnered was I called Brent Daniels. I'm like, hey, I know you're the cold calling king, and you have a bunch of students.
Let's go.
And that was before like influencers were influencers. And I was just like, hey, test this data out. If you like it, you know, promote it to your students, and we'll give you free skip tracing or whatever at that time. And he's like, done. Let me test it out. So we gave him some free data, and basically, you know, the rest is history. Now we have 4 products and 250 employees, and it just went from 0 to a lot real fast. And I've basically been, you know, flying a plane as I'm building it.
It's so there's a lot to unpack there, right? Yeah, the company has, you know, showed massive growth over compounded growth really over the last 3 years.
Right.
The first year was just kind of, you know, setting it up, getting a feel for it and whatnot, and really the incremental growth came in, you know, in the last 3. Mm-hmm. But it's not just the growth, man, that gets me. It's really the attention to quality. And then I feel like a lot of companies out there, they'll do a lot, right? They'll get to this point where like they're crushing it, and they're doing well, and then they start to lose traction of improvements, and then, you know, new features, or, you know, just kind of looking out for, okay, what's the problem that we need to come in and solve. And I feel like you guys haven't lost, you know, that touch yet. Like, there's one thing that I see from Batch is the constant and progressive improvement that just takes place all over the place. So I mean, that's a cultural thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But we're, you know, so basically I went from a real estate investor to a software owner is basically, and I'll bring it back just a little bit, is me, Andy, and Evo had separate wholesaling operations on the time. We ended up merging those together, and then Batch ended up getting so big that we actually said, okay, we're going to really service the real estate community. We're not going to compete against them. And it was really hard to try and grow the heck out of Batch service rather than, you know, have all these other different businesses.
Silos,
So, you know, we had to make that tough decision. But what was nice during that 2 years, so those first 2 years, we were still real estate investing and still making a lot of money. And the smartest thing we did was plow a lot of our profits into the development and improvement of the software side of things, because we were lucky and fortunate enough to be very successful as real estate investors, to where we were making more than we needed on that side, to where we weren't really concerned with the profits, which were actually really good on Batch service, but we were really able to continue to pour into you know, hiring people and hiring talented people to continually improve and uplift the product side on this.
How did you deal with the process of growth? Okay, so partnering up it was one challenge, right? Obviously you said you weren't really open to partnering up, but it happened.
Yeah.
And slowly. Slowly, but it turned out to be a good thing, right? So, I mean, just kind of going into the mindset of opening up to that possibility, right? Doing it, and being, being collaborative. I mean, you got to a point where you were running your own stuff, and you had some, PTSD or whatever for stuff that didn't pan out in the past. Like, how did you, like, because I know it took me a while to really be open to partnering up. That's why I'm bringing it up. So, like, I know what it feels like. How did you deal with that?
So I had a few things. Is just, we worked together, and we just had, at that time, it was just batch skip tracing, and so we were still running our own stuff and then doing that together. And it just felt good. It felt right. It felt like we complemented each other. And that was before I even read Rocket Fuel. Once I read Rocket Fuel, which is a great book, then I really knew kind of like, okay, like now I understand why we work.
Yeah.
But we dated for like over a year before we really committed to each other. I was like, yeah, I dated them. Like it was a date. Like, we didn't want to jump the gun. And I actually was ready to get into the relationship faster. Evo and Evo and Annie are from Bulgaria. They moved to the States. He's just like, she's my partner and that's my partner only. I don't need anyone else. That's who I trust. Like they have very, very small circles. So, I felt like the thirsty one, to be honest with you. And I was like, yo, like, this is right. Like, let's do it. But the one thing that I stipulated, because, I partnered with two people that ended up dating each other, and now I'm about to partner with a brother and sister.
Yeah.
I was like, this is my one thing, and it's take it or leave it, and it's non-negotiable. It's like, if we do anything together, we do everything together. There's nothing you guys could do on the side. It's all of it. Like
all in. Yeah.
All in. If you have some side thing that you want to go make money on, just know that 2/3 are going to us.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been, and that's how it works, because we're not going to divert from what is really important, which is batch, unless it's going to make a huge bag of money, because you're only getting a third of it. So it better be important. We better be in agreement. This is what needs to be done. Even my social media, if I wanted to go be an influencer, like I get a third of it.
Yeah.
We do everything together while this is going on. And I foresee in the future, if and when, we end up selling batch or whatever happens there, like, dude, they're my partners for life. Like as long as we want the same things, I want to work with them forever. Like I truly love them, both of them.
And they're great people. I mean, I know them both firsthand. They're both great friends of mine too, and you're right. Like it's when you get into an agreement, you start dating. You start to see, okay, like what triggers this person. What do I have to be more cautious about, or what? I feel like we develop a lot more self-awareness as we're building up the relationships and the business side, right? But in the end, I mean, if the old saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, bring a couple people with you.
But you have to also make sure it's those right people.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
but I like Danny and Jared were great partners. They fell in love and wanted different things. Like hold nothing against them or about that. And it was just tough. I'm friends with her and now we're best friends again, but it was just tough. Like, dude, dude, what I'm trying to, the point I'm trying to get at, I know I'm being long-winded here, is a lot of people, before you create this big partnership, have like a profit share for 6 months or a year. You spend more time with these people than you do your spouse, than your family. Like, you get married. This is another form of marriage. This is just like a marriage certificate. You have an operating agreement, just like, some people have prenups or whatever, marriage. And then there's all these things that go along with it. Especially when you're trying to build something big, you better make sure that's that right person, because they have to be your ride or die. And I'm so lucky that I've had 2 great partnerships. Like Danny and Jared taught me so much, and that was a great partnership, a great first partnership. As I said, it didn't work out, but reflecting on it, the PTSD is far gone.
Yeah.
But it was just at that time, like I was hurt and it was tough, and but the best part about that is like they are married. They're working on having their first kid.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I could be, a part of that, because I introduced them to each other. But then, understanding this next one, and in Annie and Evo, and man, I really hit the lottery. Like, they are truly special people. I will go to bat personally and professionally. But a lot of people just, they jump in way too quick and start the stuff. And when you start making money, you better make sure that's your person, or else shit's going to get ugly real quick.
The thing has to be big enough. And everything has to be in alignment, right? The thing has to be in alignment. The workload has to be in alignment. The tenacity, the thirst, the drive has to be in alignment. The counterbalance between talents has to be in alignment. If you guys are all good at the same thing, it's not gonna fucking pan out. You know, it just doesn't, right? And a lot of the times, because I get along great with this person. We're both great closers. Okay, who's gonna do the ops? Who's gonna do the PR? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. If you are similar, do not partner with them. Like, it's a bad partnership, because someone's gonna have to step down and do a role that they're not good at. You want to find your counterpart, not someone similar to you.
You're a tenacious negotiator, man. Like
Annie's actually probably better than I am, to be honest with you.
Yeah, she's also vicious. She's a very good like, she executes really well. I feel like, I mean, she takes stuff and then she rolls with stuff fast, right? She's got that quick trigger to perform an action. And then Evo, like, he's one of the smartest dudes I know. Like, the guy is just, I mean, he's a 7-foot brain. 7-foot tall brain. Well, like, if you don't know Evo, he's very tall.
I got lucky though, because they're both more integrator-esque. Yeah. I'm definitely the visionary of the three of us, but Annie is full on integrator. Evo's a blend in between the two of us. He has some visionary, and like, he could get a little sloppy like me and just not think through something, or not. It's not think through something. I guess it's more just like jump the gun on like a vision or something you want to do before it's fully thought out. But he gets in the weeds. So like, he's kind of a little bit in between both of us, and like, they don't even have me do projects anymore. It's like, you run the ship, you do the motivation, you do a lot of the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year vision stuff. Like, you kind of make sure, you know, we're doing those big things, and I get into the weeds quite a bit too, but I'm not responsible for, you know, driving projects home. I'm just a part of those projects now.
Well, it's important though, like, to see the talents, right? Like, the big pieces. We all fit in different places. Like, if a lot of, like, I think I went on for years thinking that I had really no value to provide to people. So it just kind of, it's a close topic for me, you know, and because I felt like, okay, if I can think this through like this, I mean, and I can, you know, push this way, I mean, probably that person can do it as well. That person can do it as well. And then you get to a point where you realize, like, oh shit, no, we have different strengths. Mm-hmm. Like, this is, you know, I see the world in a different light. You see the world in a different light, right? Mm-hmm. So you bring, you know, big value to the table in a certain way, and somebody else is going to come in and complement that.
Right.
And I, like, for example, my first partnership wasn't like that. It was more of a, okay, fuck, you know, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens, and then, you know, roll with it. And needless to say, you know, a couple of years into it, didn't pan out, you know, so well. I was doing the workload and all that stuff. So I feel like getting into it and dating is a very important thing.
But things could change too, because where me, Annie, and Evo have all been aligned is we're just like, let's try and take this thing to the moon, and we've continued to want to do that. But, you know, sometimes when people get to a certain amount of money or get to a certain thing, that's why we revisit, you know, our operating agreement every single year and make sure, you know, we're aligned. Like, is this what you want to do? Like, it's a lot, and you have to make sure that someone wants to go along for that ride. Yeah. Because if they don't, then, and that's not saying you may have both been aligned at the beginning, but people change and evolve, especially, you know, we're 5 years into this now too. Like, I'm very different than I was 5 years ago.
Lives
different
have
priorities.
Changed. You have kids.
Yes. So, I mean, things do change, but at the same time, you know, if you really are aligned and say, you know, this is what we're willing to do and commit to these next handful of years, if something changes, as long as you communicate that, like, it doesn't mean just because the partnership ended doesn't mean it's always a bad thing. Like, as I said, stuff changes and people's lives change and stuff could happen. But, you know, it's just, I think people just jump into these partnerships, especially in real estate investing, very, very quickly. And you can make a lot of money, and a lot of shit could go sideways, you know, really quick. And I would advise you to really date those when you're doing that. Do a profit share, you know, split marketing together, do the stuff together, see how you work together, do JV, you know, you could do 6-month JV agreement, whatever you need to do. But take that 6 months to a year, really figure out, is this my person?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you meet someone at a meetup and marry them 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
I mean, some people do that.
It's kind of, it's kind of like going to Vegas and
yeah, that typically doesn't, work out so well.
Yeah, no, but I totally get it. Like, for example, this last this partnership that I'm in right now, it's I feel pretty excited about, but it's also, we've been working together for the last 6 months, and really hadn't pulled the trigger on anything solid until recently.
Right.
But it's been, okay, cool. This is working out. Everybody's pulling their weight. Everybody's doing the work. There's different areas where we all come in and just kind of complement each other. And the big picture, it's a collective big picture. Mm-hmm. So, that's very important. It is very, very important. One of the things that I like to kind of point out is, or dive into is, as we're growing the businesses, man, as the vision is growing, the opportunities are growing, our Rolodex is growing. Why? Because we get more, we get to meet more people, we get into more circles and mm-hmm. that sort of thing. We're also growing as individuals, mm-hmm. right? So the business is doing its thing, and I feel like it's almost a direct reflection of where we're at in certain areas of life. Tell me, over the last 3 years, on a personal note, like and personal side of growth, what have been like some of the biggest changes?
So, briefly touch on this, but getting my eating and fitness back into gear. As I said, I gained a lot of weight as I started my entrepreneurship, and that was affecting, my ability to work effectively and have the energy to do the things I needed to do. So, putting that back together and doing that, because I'd work hard, but then I'd go home and there's nothing. And I'd sit on my ass and watch TV, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you tell people how they need to be great. I felt like it was total imposter syndrome, to be honest with you. And I felt like a fraud even to my employees, because I expect all of this out of you, and I don't even have the discipline to put the right foods in my mouth or, exercise, which is good for you. And finally, one day I just woke up and I was like, enough is enough, and just got a trainer, got a dietitian, and said, let's get it. I'd done it before, but I just really needed someone to hold me accountable, make sure I did it. And then the other thing is...
Well, you look great, by the way. Like, phenomenal.
Thank you.
Like, sexy, rich, and successful. Like, it's like, come on, stop it.
Yeah. And then the other thing was just focusing on reading more. Really trying to be better. Not just professional stuff, but reading stuff personally, psychology stuff, self-development stuff about work, stuff about golf. I love golfing. So, like, getting just like challenging myself to get better personally, professionally, my hobbies. But I think the biggest change, and this is kind of what I was talking about, in my health, especially my weight, I feel like for some reason, and I know that you have a psychology degree, so I'd love your opinion on this, and I still haven't been able to figure out why, but I felt like I basically held the weight on and gained the weight because I was scared to believe that I was worth having all of it. Like, I can't have the success. I can't have the great friends. I can't have the beautiful girl. Like, I have to be, like, something has to be shitty in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like, I felt guilty. Like, people will look at it and be like, well, he has it all. Like, what an asshole or something. I don't know why I did that, but I feel like I self-sabotaged myself probably for a handful or a couple of years because I was scared to be truly happy with who I was. It's fucked up, dude. I don't know why. I pondered it, and I know I got over it, and I was just like, no, like, who cares what other people think? Just go be the best version of you and be the happiest version of you, because most people aren't happy in all aspects of their lives. And I could truly tell you that I'm proud of who I am as a person, how I treat people, how I treat myself, how disciplined I am. Like, I'm very proud of that. And if you aren't happy for me, that means you're jealous of me. And that's just something I have to deal with.
Well, and at the end of the day, like, to that point, right? We all have the right, man. We all have the right of joy, and I think, I went through similar stuff. For me, it was more on the financial side of things.
That was a problem too, but once I got over that,
to me, it was on the financial side of things. Growing up, like, taking care of myself, like I was always, active and that sort of things, right? And loved music, played guitar, so, like, I feel like the confident side of myself growing up was was good. But as soon as I got to that space that required more of me, more competitiveness, more, for me to step up, I was stepping out of my comfort zone. For me, it was on the financial, breaking that financial thermostat that kept resetting me early on. Like, that was the challenge for me. But I felt like once I started getting through that, it's all the memories, man. It's all the, like, to me, I kind of felt like I was leaving my family, my home behind, and I was almost betraying this lifestyle where, that I was used to, and I felt inadequate, like I didn't fit in this whole new lifestyle that I was tapping into. And it felt uncomfortable as heck at the beginning. But at the end of the day, when I sat with it, it was a matter of self-worth. I just felt like I wasn't worthy of it yet. You know what I mean?
I know. Trust me, people are stupid. Like, we are dumb. Like, we want to sabotage ourselves. And you have to actively make sure you're not doing that.
Yeah. And when you ask yourself why, like, you can't even pinpoint it.
I know.
Like, I can't tell you why. Like, I work my ass off. I mean, I try to do, good by everybody I meet. And I try to contribute and do this and that. Like, so why am I putting myself through this ringer because of old engrams and old baggage and just kind of psychological anchors? It's one of the biggest things. See, that's what I mean about personal growth and professional growth. I feel like because we're pushing ourselves in this other space that requires a new person of us, the level of attention that stepping up requires often forces us to feel less pressured about fitting into the box.
Yeah.
And about, that validation, external validation, somehow, some way, right? It may be, and validation doesn't always have to come up from somebody who's more successful. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's validation from, I don't know, a cousin or somebody that, you go way back with and you want their approval, for whatever stupid reason.
I think it just stems so early. Like, the Rolex I have stems from my uncle, who I thought was cool and looked up to, that always had one.
Yeah.
So, like, I needed one to validate success was through this symbol. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, dude? Yeah. Like, it's just kind of funny.
It is what it is, right? Like, it's you get to a point where, like, shit, I spent all that time thinking that this was the thing.
It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's a cool watch, I guess.
It's I mean, we like nice things, right?
But so do I. But it doesn't. Everyone thinks all these things are going to change you, and I got to go through that phase.
Yeah.
I have a Lamborghini. I have the nice things. Like, I'm telling you, people, it does not fulfill you one bit more.
Yeah.
After a month or two, it's just a car or it's just a watch. Like, the people you surround yourself with, the people that push you, the people that love you, the people that cheerlead for you, dude, that's what matters. The kids, the family, the experiences, the memories, the traveling, the things don't. It's just a thing, and it's a very short, endorphin hit that's gonna make you feel good, and it's a shallow one or a hollow one, I guess.
I've measured the quality of life. And this has been going on for years, but through smiles, man.
Yeah.
It's not even, I don't know, like constant states of happiness. It's just smiles. Like, am I feeling joyful? Am I enjoying the moment? To me, that's currency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like smiles are currency. That's what matters. If I'm having a great conversation with somebody, shit, that was a great moment. I don't know if I'm gonna get the next moment.
Right.
And I think that adds up to a lifestyle, and then to a way of thinking, and then to this type of energy that calls you to be in certain rooms with certain people. And I mean, it just becomes you after a while. I think it can be sometimes maybe easier said than done, right? To break through that space where you feel like you're enjoying it, because it's so easy for us to just get fixated on the bone, right? I mean, I don't know, like I want the bone. I want to if I'm a puppy and I see a bone, I want to go after the bone. But it's the playfulness that really kind of brings it all together. I don't know if that made sense, but it's the first analogy that I can think of.
Yeah, the other point I'm trying to say about like the stuff that I just talked about is, you still have to work really hard to get that financial freedom.
Yeah.
But once you really start killing it and crushing it, and that's where I think people don't understand is like, your life is truly changed once you have, you know, the mortgage is paid for years. You know that you have the cars paid for in cash. You know that you could take care of yourself and your family, and you're not in any type of survival mode. So like that is the biggest like relief or burden that gets removed from you, you know, with the success that you have. The point I was trying to make is like all the things and materialistic stuff doesn't matter.
What does success look like to you? To me, for example, is owning my options. I love to own the option of, you know, meeting people whenever I want to meet people, to, you know, leaving the office early, going on a trip if, you know, I don't know, next week or tomorrow if I deem appropriate. Like that to me it's a space of success, right? What does that entail for you?
I kind of talked about this a little bit already. It's I guess it's kind of what you're saying. I'll just say it differently. It's being able to create the balance that I want for myself. Personally, professionally, family, travel, like being able to have the options to do that to what fulfills me the most is what I see as successful. Because I told you, it's not, everyone's different with the type of monetary goals that they have, or with the amount of time they want to spend with their kids, or they want to spend with their family, or they want to spend with their friends. So I think the only way to really equate that for people is to understand, you know, being able to make that best version for yourself and having that option, I think, is what ultimate success really looks like. Because Elon Musk has all the money in the world, but he has a mission to where he wants to change something, or Jeff Bezos or this person or that person. So I don't think anyone could truly define it, but just how I did is like you being able to choose how you want to do it, I think is what success is. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that there's this almost connotation to success? Like this is what success means. But when you get into the real, you know, nuts and bolts of it, you realize that it's all within us.
But success could also mean, you know, it doesn't need to be entrepreneurial either. Yeah. Like I hate to tell you guys that, but I have a lot of amazing people that work for me that do very well for themselves and have what I just identified as success. Maybe not quite to the degree that I have it, but like they have a lot of PTO, they have a lot of this, they have like they really do have about as much freedom as I have, to be honest with you. But everyone thinks you have to go do it on your own. No, you go find a great place to work for, show your value, and you could have a ton of success. Or to someone else, it could be, you know, moving here, first generation American, and getting a college degree and just not living in poverty like you did in this third world country. Like, it is so different for everybody that it's just don't put a box around anything. Or if what you deemed as success and you feel like you've done something great, don't look at someone else just because they've done it differently or have more of something to say that that's better. That's not true.
Yeah. It's different paths, man, different lanes. I feel like we got to have a good grip on the mission or whatever it is that, you know, just sparks us in the morning and fires us up. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, right? Like waking up in the morning and then just having that excitement to go out and crush it today is I mean, that's priceless.
Do we have any business stuff? We've like really been down psychology rabbit holes. Or any business stuff we want to talk about maybe?
Yeah, we'll get into the pragmatic stuff too. We have grown. I mean, one of the biggest things, I mean, I guess switching gears, we have you guys were a relatively small group at the beginning. Year one, you were doing that kind of stuff, and then you started adding people, and staffing. Okay, I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to be where you're at right now if you didn't have a team of 250 people now. You know, close. You're around there, right?
Yeah.
How has that process developed?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, so far, like, how have you been able to plug people into it? Like, one of the biggest issues that we have as business owners is hiring people and then plugging them into the right roles and you know, kind of building the machine as they go. You're flying. I mean, this is how you said it earlier. Yeah. You're flying the plane, you're building
while you're building it.
At the same time.
So I can tell you what we didn't do right. Happily, we should have hired HR faster, and we should have hired a recruiter faster. Because if you have someone overseeing the people, making sure, you know, they're getting their time off, getting their benefits, getting payroll done on time. And Annie was doing a lot of that at the beginning. So, I mean, she's still super busy. And then getting a recruiter, like when you want to scale and grow talent, like you need someone that knows what you're doing. You can't just, you know, at that time, me, Annie, and Eva would like go on Instagram and be like, who wants to sell software for real estate investors with Batch? And people are like, sure, you know, but like, you're not necessarily hiring, you know, the right people or doing it the right way. having the proper processes. So what me and Annie and Eva had to do, as I said, we're learning as we're going. We were smart enough to just keep hiring people that had done stuff we hadn't done and made sure that they knew how much we appreciated them and would really let them own their part of the business. And that was really how we're able to grow. It wasn't me, Annie, or Evo specifically doing these things. It was going and finding amazing people to truly believe in what we were trying to accomplish and do. And we have these huge, ambitious goals that people are like, I want to get behind that. Yeah. I want to be a part of that. I want to do this with you. And we've just been so fortunate to have an amazing group. And I'm talking from support to the self-contributors to the engineers and sales and managers and directors and now VPs and executives. I mean, I pinch myself half the time I go in because I'm like, man, there's so many just amazing people here and they want to rock with me. And I'm just so appreciative of all of it, to be honest with you.
Give me the 30,000 foot view of how your company's structured. I mean, departments and kind of like the key roles that you wouldn't be able to operate without.
There's too many.
Yeah, I mean, I figured. That's why I said 30,000 foot
30,000 foot view. So basically like front of house and back house. So like front of house, I consider sales and marketing. So we have a chief growth officer. So he oversees sales and marketing. Yeah. But he's actually basically like the VP of marketing. He sits in that seat too. And then we have a VP of sales. Mm-hmm. On that side, and then I'm the CEO overseeing that side, and then Evo oversees the back house. So we have our core team, which is like the core part of our product. So they're basically infrastructuring all of our data. Mm-hmm. Then that goes to product. So we have a head of product as well. So they're scoping the product and making sure these are all the things that you need to do. And then it goes to engineering. They actually build it. Yeah. And then Annie oversees finance and HR.
Finance and HR. What about R&D and continuous development?
That's in the core side.
It's in the core side?
Yeah, so they're doing a lot of what new data things could we do, what new creative stuff can we build. So they're like
putting feelers out there for see what the market is needing.
And that comes back from a feedback loop from product marketing and customer marketing, talking to them, and we have feedback loops to them and myself. I'm a part of the product committee meeting on the roadmap that we have for the next year and what that looks like and if we need to pivot it and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you guys are really good about getting feedback from customers, and I think you also do it from within the team, the staff. So not just customer facing, but also team facing. Right. I mean, you guys have surveys, you guys have all kinds of stuff that you do on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. I've done a couple of trainings for you guys' team on psychology, psychology stuff, and one of the things that like I was surprised when I got this, right? I got a feedback form, and it was like, okay, this is the feedback on that training, but it was a feedback for the company itself. So I feel like you pay a lot of attention to your team as you're developing these, everybody from the ground up. I mean, well, not the ground up, but a lot of them are key players. But
yeah, I mean, it goes back to core values. And our core values, and the most important one to me is like to help you grow. Not only professionally, but personally as well. I think it's to foster growth, not only professionally, but personally. Mm. And then, being customer success, lead by example, lead with integrity. We have, 5 or 6 of them, and really making sure, we're hiring the people that truly, believe in want to be a part of these things, because like we find out very quickly if you're going to ride with us or if you're just
you're
just
not a fit. Yeah.
So it's been really nice. And what I'm most proud of is we've had a lot of great referrals from people that have, brought some of their talented friends, along, being like, yo, this place is special. Like the owners are great. They respect us. They let us grow. And that's really how we've been able to grow is a lot of our executive team is through, referring people. And a lot of these guys have worked for companies that have went public and have done and been a part of things that me, Annie, and Evo haven't experienced. Like we fell into building a software company. It's not like we went out and tried to do it. We were just trying to find better ways to make our real estate investing companies make more money. And it just was a happy accident that,
you came across a need and then you were able to fulfill it. Yeah.
and then we could have just stopped, with skip tracing, and it turned into, let's go take over the world, because we're crazy people. And about 2 years in, we're just like, what the fuck did we do? And we're kind of at the point of no return, like, it's all or nothing. So,
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, again, you become a standard, man, in the industry, I feel. Give me the 10-year history or chronological history of Batch. And I know we're not at 10 years yet, but so from the point where you start and then, just kind of bullet point style to from 2018 to 2028, what's the life of the company?
Life of the company, yeah. I mean, 2018 was batch skip tracing.
Yeah.
2020 came batch leads. The end of 2020 came batch driven, which is now inside batch leads. We collapsed that back down, and then batch dialer came in early 2021, and then last year batch data came. So we have all these different products, and what we need to do now. So next year, so 2024. We're actually going to merge all the products into batchservice.com. So we'll still have the products there, but
right.
We're like, oh, we're this all-in-one solution. We have all this great stuff, which we have, but people have to have multiple billings and multiple this and multiple that, and like we need to make that experience for the customer, much better, much more seamless if they are using a multitude of our products. So that's definitely the big thing that we're working on right now, is getting everything into one place, and then you're not having to have a marketing team market to 4 different products, and like they're just like, what, you guys are crazy, like we need to fix this. And I was like, I know.
So that's it. A few years ago you told me, I can't remember if it was you or anyways, like the approach that you guys were taking to each one of the products was as a standalone. So I mean, somebody's able to have one standalone product. I mean, if you just skip tracing,
it'll still be standalone, but it's all under one wallet or one balance, where you still could have each product separately, but there's one bill. If you have multiple products, they have to have 2 logins, like the way we communicate with them. It's not the best use, but we didn't know because we just started building things, and we
bolt-on type of stuff,
and we weren't product or software people at that time. Obviously, we really know what we're doing now, but I can't say we did it wrong when we didn't know. I guess, and it wasn't the plan. It's just like, hey, we're trying to fulfill needs in the company. Nor did we have the people that had went through that yet in our company to say, hey, this is probably how you should do it. And we didn't even have a consultant do that. And I remember like a year and a half ago, got paired up with this really awesome girl named Kristen Resch, who now she's actually referred a few employees to us, but she's like, what are you guys doing? This needs to be in one product. Or I'm like, what do you mean one product? Like, it needs to be under one umbrella. And you still can have all the products separately, but it needs to be in one place. If someone wants something, why would they have to have 2 different logins? And you're getting, it's just it's not great. But we're fixing that. So that's really what the next 2024 looks like. And then
that's what I mean by innovation, man. You guys are pretty conscientious about the improvement process. Not just putting something out there, people come in, sign up for it, use it, and then it becomes stagnant. I always consistently see improvements.
Customer obsessed. Like, how do we make the experience better for the customer?
There you go.
Especially people that want to use multiple, multiple products of ours or product lines. Why would I want to create friction for them? I want to make it as easy as possible to make sure that they could be as successful as possible.
Right.
And the products will also talk better to each other when they're there. You could literally switch in and out of products right from one place and not have to go log in. And it
makes sense. Yeah. What's in store for the next 5 years?
It's really continuing to figure out new ways to innovate. So as the real estate space changes, how do we bring in AI? How do we bring in machine learning? How do we, do more propensity scoring on, giving, some of the bigger, wholesalers or investors, like, how do we say this is what we believe the houses that are going to sell in the next 6 months in your market or 3 months and stuff like that. And then that's more just the investor side. On the just B2B side, and we want to be able to really empower, to other software companies that work with real estate people. The stuff that we've built could actually plug in to their softwares and help them have their customers have more success. And that's a big thing that we're working on right now. And we actually 2 days ago, no, yesterday, 2 days ago, doesn't matter. Yesterday or the day before, that shows how busy my week's been. We actually got our first $1 million contract. So for one person, and you know, batch leads is $99 a month up to, you know, maybe I think our most expensive plan is $7,000 a year on, you know, the investor side. So, you know, getting some stuff like that and really being able to help and enable these other companies that are doing big, ambitious things like ourselves, being able to utilize our data,
tap into you guys,
is really, really exciting, because that's why we are so innovative. And that's why we're trying to make sure we have a lot of these endpoints and a lot of these stuff that other people don't have. So we could be the gold standard on, you know, because some of these companies need to surface, you know, a lot of it's around property data and homeowners. It's not for wholesalers. That's just what we came from. But
that was
like
a starting
roofers,
point.
solars, like they're outreaching to homeowners. Think of title companies, mortgage companies. Like there's so many people in all these bigger businesses. Now that's not like our bread and butter for the softwares that we specifically created. But our batch data side, or our data side, we have all that data that those companies need. So we want to really fuel those companies that are servicing all those other personas that use and want to get in contact with, you know, homeowners. So that's really, really exciting for us right now.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, I know it. Like, you guys are crushing it as it is now. Like, breaking into those different verticals is only going to be a bolt onto the system, just value add for everybody else out there. So I love it, man. I mean, it's incredible what you guys have done over the last, since 2018. I like the fact that you guys are continuously improving all the processes, the systems is something that I talk about all the time with my students, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be coming up with. How are you going to fine tune and improve something that you've already created a baseline for at an industry level? So, bro, before we sign off, this is a question that I love asking. But if you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give that kid?
Read. I didn't like to read and learn. Read and learn. Go read books, go learn, go work on yourself faster. Because I wish I would have reading opens up your mind and gives you new perspectives of stuff you've never even thought about, and different ways to look at things. And I wish I would have taken that seriously earlier in my life. And that's one of the biggest things that's really changed who I am and how I look at myself and how I think now. So, I mean, it's really that simple. It sounds stupid, but
no, it's not stupid at all. Like, it's a game changer.
I mean, there's a reason why you got books everywhere. So, but that's the biggest thing. It's not be more ambitious, take more. It's, dude, I wish I just would have really been more curious about learning and reading and just doing that faster. Because I mean, obviously, I went to school for a long time, so probably didn't do a great job at reading as much, but I wasn't interested in that stuff, really dive into what you're interested in.
Love it. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe find out more about, services that, from Batch and whatnot, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, just batchservice.com. If you want to find me on Instagram, first and last name, Jesse Burrell. That's about the only thing I'm on. I have a TikTok I don't use and a Facebook I don't use, and I'm not a big social media guy, to be honest with you, but that I check regularly and would be able to get back to you. But I really do appreciate you having me on. I've always looked up to you in a lot of ways too, to where you've really helped me become a better person as well. So I do appreciate it.
Brother, it's mutual. Thank you so much. It's an honor having you, bro. I love seeing you guys win, and thank you for doing this.
Appreciate it.
All right. Fam, there you guys have it. Check it out. Jesse Burrell. Reach out to the guy. Take a look at Batch. I mean, it's a really, really great company. It's doing a lot of big things. It's really paving the way at an industry level. But when you take it back and you dissect it and break it down from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I mean, take a close look. And these guys are going to teach you most of the lessons that you need to learn about as you're going through the process, right? Growing pains, hiring, firing, mindset on how to build, great stuff and keep that thinking big, all right? So with that being said, stay focused. You got this.
Thanks, bud.